What are the winter services that you guys offer?
Kind of the checklist that our crews go down is picking up the leaves, trimming bushes, removing grass and weeds in the flower beds, light tree pruning. We do a monthly mow down here. Yeah, you got to really kind of think outside of the box of how to bring value to customers. All right. So what do you need? What do you need help with?
I kind of at like a little pivoting point right now. I just had two people, they kind of came in together and they left together. So that just leaves me and one full-time guy. So I'm kind of in the middle of just hanging in there with the other guy and just running full-time through winter time or the off season, or if I should hire another person and just have a two-man crew instead of two full-man crews. I'm kind of in that moment. There's a couple other things, but that's kind of like the main priority of this call today.
How much annual revenue are you going to do this year?
I'm on track to do about 120, 130.
Okay. So just off of that number, and you're doing mainly commercial or residential?
Residential.
Okay. So 120, 130,000. Generally speaking, what I've seen in my business is that's like 10 to 12K per person per month. So if you run the numbers on that, so like a good, like you and I as owners should be able to do like 12,000 per month. If you multiply that by 12, that's technically 144,000.
Okay.
So what that signals to me is there's either like inefficiency somewhere in there, or it's probably inefficiencies. Because like if you said that you had two, were they both full-time or part-time? The ones that left?
They're full-time. Well, we do Monday through Thursday. So
Okay.
it's about 32 hours. And then if there's anything over that.
Yeah. And then are you just paying them hourly, or are you paying them
Hourly.
like, okay. So that's where I see the big kicker is, where most companies kind of fall in this trap. And you're not the only one, by the way. I'm one of them that kind of fell into this trap when I first started, because we had like a lot, like we had almost twice as many people as we actually really needed. Honestly, with that size business, you probably need maybe two people, plus maybe one. So I'm fairly confident in the fact that you can most likely you probably don't need the other two people. That one guy that's still with you, how is he? Is he a good, like A player, B player, C player?
He's actually an A player. I just got him 2 weeks ago, but he's looking to stay for a while and grow with us. So yeah, he's definitely A player though.
Cool. So like, yeah, if he's a really go-getter A player, and he's really meshing well and like picking up on like the training like super quick, and he's done this before, I wouldn't be opposed to maybe giving him like a couple dollars more per hour if you're still on just a flat hourly rate, just to make sure that he doesn't leave too. Because like if he leaves, things might get a little tight for you. You might feel like you're overwhelmed and like you're not gonna be able to get all the workload done. So yeah, my very kind of short answer would be typically one person should be able to do about 12,000 in revenue per month. And then as you grow to like 200,000, 250, 300,000 and get like, which you have, I'm sure probably two trucks currently, right?
Right. Yeah. 2 trucks, 2 trailers.
So I always recommend for people, so your assets are good, like your vehicle and equipment is phenomenal. So you have the ability to do with that setup. Let's see. So you got 2 trucks, so four guys total times 12,000. You'll be able to do 48,000 a month until you pretty much hit max capacity, probably like that 50,000 mark. What I would recommend in this off season is to look at maybe implementing pay for performance, especially with 2 trucks. If you know, that last time we spoke is to really kind of like get like out of the field where you're not the one like pushing them over every time. Pay for performance is something that I would highly recommend. And what you'll find is that guy that you got working and you guys, they'll be able to do way more work than you think. So right now you have 4 guys basically going to do 130,000 this year. But the minute you go to pay for performance, where you're giving them basically performance pay, you'll be able to like cut out some of that waste, and you will not need 4 people at all. Like even close to that, probably realistically like 2 for that size. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Another question for scheduling purposes, whenever you were starting out, we do about 78 houses a week. How would you break that up into days? Like, would you do 15 yards a day, or would you how would you divide that up? Or what was the strategy that you came up with?
Yeah, so normally like at new locations that we start, we just break them up into 4 quadrants just to try to
Okay.
make it really simple. The reason I like doing that, so you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday would be all mowing. And then Fridays would be we leave open for landscape jobs.
Okay, cool.
And or if it rains during the week, like let's say it rains all day on Wednesday and you can't get Wednesday's route done. Okay, cool. Wednesday just will get shifted back to Thursday. And then Thursday might get shifted back a little bit to Friday. But then at least you're not having to work the weekends. But we just look at the map territory and we kind of try to use very big roads or quadrants inside of that area to where each quadrant would be a specific mow day. And then on Fridays would just be open for landscaping and weed control jobs.
Okay, cool. In the earlier age, how did you keep yourself organized?
So I'm not a very organized person. So you're probably asking the wrong person.
Fair.
But what specifically do you need help organizing with? Like what specific organization tasks are you talking or referring to?
Man, kind of more so like the back end stuff, I guess, to be a little more specific, kind of like tracking expenses and kind of, yeah, biggest thing is probably expenses.
That's a really good question. I do think this is beneficial for you and everybody else that's like starting their business, especially at your size. Like what you'll want to do is back in the day, what I did is just create an Excel spreadsheet for income and expenses.
Okay.
And then every month at the end of the month, you could do it weekly if you want, if you have a lot of transactions in the bank account. But normally I would just at the end of the month, when I knew that the new month was coming, I would go into the CRM, figure out how much money we made. You'll just go through your bank account. Every single transaction needs to be logged. You can use like ChatGPT, or I don't know if I have the original Excel spreadsheet, but you'll pretty much just, fuel, insurance, software, you'll just kind of go through, like ask ChatGPT to like build you an income and expense category. And then you really should only have like maybe 10 to 15 categories. Like you could get really crazy with it, but just 10 to 15, equipment, fuel, insurance, all that big stuff. And then as you go in there, it'll add it up. If you can create an Excel to where when you put those amounts in, it'll add it up, but that'll help. And I would definitely do that every single month. That'll give you a good pulse on your income and expenses for sure.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys aerate or do aerations?
We do. Yeah. So we've done core aeration where it pulls the plugs. I don't recommend it. It's very physically demanding. When I got home at the end of the day, dude, I hated my life after I did a full day of aerations.
I got you.
We do liquid aerations now. So we have a 200-gallon spray tank. Some guys will be like, "Oh, it's like not real, like liquid aerations," but it basically what it does is it helps loosen the soil compaction, and it kind of breaks down that compaction in the soil. So we just do a liquid aeration. We spray the lawn front to back, side to side. You could use a backpack sprayer if you wanted to offer that service, but yeah, there's a product that's called Aerate. AER, and then it has a number 8, and that's the product we use, and yeah, it does pretty well. I think it does good. It's way easier than the core aeration, and you don't have to worry about like hitting people's sprinkler heads or damaging irrigation lines, which is a big thing where we're at. So
yeah, I get that.
Look, building this kind of business can feel lonely. That's why we built a private school community that is based off of a ton of other home service business owners that are literally going down the same pathway as you. We are winning together. You get all the tools, resources, and direct access to us. Join the movement today. The link's in the description below.
When do you guys start to roll into the off season or the winter rush?
So down here in Texas, our mowing season, so we're going to go bi-weekly here in about 2 weeks, mid-October. And then the mowing season pretty much ends like mid-November. And then that's when we start our winter services. We do bi-weekly mowing right now, and then we'll just keep that same schedule starting December 1st and just roll right into winter services.
What you've told me before, and I've listened to previous videos, but I can't remember off the top of my head. What are the winter services that you guys offer?
So for us down here, first big thing is leaf cleanup season. Like we're about to go into our leaf cleanup season, which is a big deal. And that keeps us pretty busy for like the next month, maybe month and a half. And then outside of that, so kind of the checklist that our crews go down is picking up the leaves, trimming bushes on the property, front, back, and sides, removing grass and weeds in the flower beds, and then light tree pruning. I say light, like 3-inch diameter. We put that on there. Otherwise, people think we're trimming large trees, and we don't do that. And then we do a monthly mow down here. So although the grass does go dormant, there are weeds that grow.
Yeah.
Plus, like the sidewalk, driveway, and curbs do get a little shaggy. So again, we do edge and then clean that stuff up. As far as winter services go, yeah, you got to really kind of think outside of the box of how to bring value to customers. You could do kind of like house inspections as like kind of like once you get through those other categories that I just listed, then maybe it's like, hey, you just do like an exterior inspection of the house and then take pictures and upload it on the visit. Down here, we have freezes in Texas. So you could also put those covers over the hose attachment on off things, which I think the covers are only like $2 or $3. So for a $45 visit, to go around and put 2 or 3 of those on the faucets are pretty good.
Yeah, I get that. Whenever you're ready to do door hangers or whenever you buy a bunch, and you're looking for a neighborhood to throw them at, what do you look for in a neighborhood?
First off, I would start directly the closest I am, number one. Number two, does the property size match what I want? A lot of times people may not they'll go and like try to get commercial work, but like they don't have large mowers and stuff yet.
Yeah.
So the property size, HOAs are great because there's a need if you have them where you're at. And then outside of that, new build communities are really good. Like people that are just moving in is always good. That I'd probably start there. But yeah, really like the closest location is definitely where I would start for sure.
Okay, cool. Did you guys already start your aeration?
We do that in October at the end of the month.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
For fertilizer and weed control, how many applications are you guys doing a year?
So we do 8 treatments down here in Texas. I think True Green does 10, maybe 12. And then there's another company that does 10. But what's cool with that is like you can kind of customize it however you want. I mean, the core components of it is a spring pre-emergent, a fall pre-emergent, and then there's typically like 2 to 3 fertilizer treatments in between. So right off of the bat, like you already have for sure like 5, and then typically like a winterizer to help kind of prep the grass for like that winter season.
Yeah.
We'll give you 6 rounds like right off the bat. But based on kind of like whatever you're wanting or needing for your revenue, I'm always inclined to do like more visits, especially if you're doing a lot of residential, because the residential customers, if you're only there like 5 or 6 visits, like it's great for the customer from a cost perspective because it's cheaper. There's only 5 or 6 visits. But the problem is you're going to have more callbacks because they will complain about like 1 or 2 weeds off their back porch if they're not like maintained well, just because it's like their home and like, they want their yard looking great. Right. So, but we do 8. That's what we have found is the sweet spot. It's about every like 6 weeks.
Cool. Okay. For the weed applications, are you guys using a backpack blower or do you guys have a truck and like a water pump set up?
We have both. So at our main location, we have a 200-gallon spray tank. You're down here in Texas, right?
Right. I'm in Austin.
So you're not, depending on like if the goal is to really get out of the field, I would not recommend getting a big spray tank for you because you will have to push spread lawns with fertilizer and pre-emergent at certain times. So now if you do both, you're going to have to basically train your crews on 2 different types of applications.
I see.
And it just adds much more complexity to the business. Instead, what we're doing for our newer locations, we're going full granular, which means every main treatment, so like a fertilizer, pre-emergent, or winterizer, they will be push spreading with a bag of granular application. However, for the weed control, we do still backpack spray. So we carry 2.5-gallon jugs 10 to 15 of them on the truck. They do mix them every morning for weed control. And then they take out, 15 jugs out there with them in a backpack. And then they do walk the properties and spray for weeds on every visit.
That is good information. For your trucks setups, are you guys running like trucks and trailers? And if you guys are, would you recommend that, or would you? Oh, I guess I should start off as in your early age or early days of starting out. Would you have got like an Isuzu box truck, or would you still have went whichever route that you're doing now?
Yeah, it's a great question. What's your average lot size currently?
I think it's right under. It's about 8,000 to 7,000.
Oh, really? Okay. So
Yeah.
those are decent size. Are you using 21-inch push mowers, or do you have 0 turns or 32-inch?
We have 32-inch push mowers, and then we have a 30-inch V rides.
Okay, so for that, so what percentage of your lawns are around or under 8,000 turf?
Say like, probably like half, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. And then what's the
But
other
they're
half?
like they're like 6,000 or like 5,000. They're not much smaller.
Okay, so half of the lawns are under 8,000 turf. And then what are the other half size?
Okay, I see your question now. Okay, I take that back. The under 8,000 is probably at like 80%, and then the others are probably over 10,000, right underneath 12,000, and there's probably like 20% of those. There's not many of those.
Okay, that's great data. So for those size properties, an Isuzu, I think personally would be overkill.
Okay.
It's going to be very expensive. Honestly, you could probably get away with F-150 with a trailer rack system on the back, because you can actually ride up a 32-inch 0-turn stand on up onto that, like a V ride or something. And then you don't have to worry about any trailers. You don't have to worry about any additional axles, flat tires, registration. It's just one truck and a trailer rack system for that size. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the point where there's not a lot of people that know how to drive a truck and trailer and are comfortable like driving one. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to weave out the trailer aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I know your goal of like getting out of the field and like really building this thing that can kind of run ideally without you there every day, simplicity scales. Plus the trucks are way cheaper. You can get an F-150 that's like 4 or 5 years old for like 10K with like 80,000 miles. And that thing will last you like 5 to 7 years if you change oil and do what you need to do,
Right. Yeah. That's kind of it. That's all I got.
Cool.
Thank you for your information. It helped out a ton, actually.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, that's good stuff.